Lounge. Thank you so much for having us today.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Excited to be here.
Yes.
Well, obviously, I'm always here, but excited that you all are here.
Yes. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I am a conscious culture curator. Everything that I do is evolving around like identity, equity, inclusion, as well as creating a conscious culture. I am a native of South Florida, a small town called Belgrade. I've been in New Orleans for 3 years by way of New York City. I was there for 8 years. Former teacher, former school leader, and my recent role before I transitioned into entrepreneurship full time, I was the dean of a graduate school, training teachers and school leaders across the country.
Oh, wow.
hmm
So, what inspired Dreamhouse?
Yeah, so Dreamhouse came to me in a dream, which
Okay.
is like kind of
That works.
the name is in the name. Yeah, I left my full time job June of 2021, and literally less than 30 days later, I had this like crazy dream about creating a space. I knew I wanted to create a space. I didn't quite have the specifics ironed out, but I started to think about equity and inclusion in social spaces. I had a pretty robust social life in New York, developed one here in New Orleans, and oftentimes when I was out, I would think about like, what if people don't drink? Or what if people are wanting to socialize but take a break from drinking? I also like visit a lot of bars and notice that there's a significant number of people who are at bars that are not actively drinking. They're there because of their friends, or like they're celebrating a bachelorette party and like a couple people don't drink. And then I started to look at menus of bars around the city and noticed that there were very few bars that offered NA options. And so, as the person I am, I'm always thinking about who's being excluded. And was like, well, there's not many places for people who are sober, sober curious, or sober conscious, is what I like to call the three categories. And so, yeah, I had a dream about creating this space that focused on mental health and wellness. And I think the sobriety piece sort of like came about as well. And then the oxygen bar, I knew I wanted to open up an oxygen bar, but I did not at first have the concept built out where it was an oxygen bar and wellness lounge, and we only served zero proof cocktails. But yeah, Dreamhouse came to me in a dream. I continued to meditate about the space. I continued to pray about the space for clarity as it relates to the concept. And I would say one day in August, I had this vivid dream where I was behind the bar working, but I could not recognize any of the bottles. And I was like, I woke up the next day and was like, oh, it's a non-alcoholic space. And then I sat on my journey of ordering literally everything that you see in the bottle shop to my house, playing around with the drinks, inviting friends over to test out drinks and say like, does this taste like a margarita? And they're like, there's no alcohol in this. I'm like, no. And so that I think gave birth to the concept, and then I was able to partner with a mixologist here, Jessica Robinson from Justini Cocktails, and we would just like make some concoctions. And at that time, mocktails is like a very popular term used to describe a zero proof drink. But I think about the root word of mock, and I was like, well, I don't want to make a mockery of something. And so we call them conscious cocktails, and that means that you're a little bit more thoughtful around what you're putting in your body.
I do like that term a little bit better than,
Yeah.
than a mocktail. I think
Yes.
conscious is a great term.
So I noticed I was looking at your menu. What is your most popular conscious concoction?
Oh, that was a really great question. So when we first opened, it was the Dream 75. And then that was our zero proof take on the fan favorite French 75. You know, every bar offers a French 75 or some take on it. So that became our popular drink. But here, as of December, I introduced the Lavender Dreams, which is made with a mezcal alternative by Cut Above. We use a little sorrel, avec hibiscus, and pomegranate, as well as lavender syrup. Excuse me. And so it's a layered, flavored floral drink with a little smokiness at the end, and that is selling like hotcakes. Like literally, people are coming in. They're like, the Lavender Dreams. I want to try the Lavender Dreams. And we were fortunate enough to get that drink highlighted not only in Country Roads magazine for this month, but also in United Airlines Hemispheres magazine.
Oh, nice.
So every United Airlines flight that you take, you'll be able to read a little bit about Dream House as well as the Lavender Dreams.
That's awesome.
Very
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's so cool.
Yeah, thank you.
So why do you think a conscious space like this is so important to New Orleans?
I think for a number of reasons. I think that mental health is of great concern in our city. We hear people talking about the crime as it being an issue in the city, and I actually don't think we have a crime problem. I think we have a mental health problem. I think that we have seen generations of neglect, generations of trauma, as well as there is a moment of people feeling like the need to survive. And so when I think about creating a wellness lounge that really taps into the mind, body, and spirit, I think about countering like the narratives and the dark cloud that we're experiencing in the city right now. And so this space initially was designed to give people who are sober or people who want to take a break or people who are tipsy and come try the oxygen bar to sober up, give people an opportunity to sober up, if you will. But since we've opened, we've involved more wellness programming, and that is becoming more and more popular. And it's something that excites me because I don't know of any other spaces that are saying like we're truly focused on your mental and spiritual health. And I think in a city where alcohol is readily available, we celebrate alcohol consumption. We have
We're quite proud of it.
I was just about to say, we have like a reputation as being a very wet city. It's like we actually have other identities. And I think something so beautiful happens here. We get tons of bartenders who come into our space. And so if you think about the industry, they're working all day, they're smelling alcohol all day. They want a place where they can socialize and not smell alcohol. And so I think about like this space being a place for everybody, regardless of your identity marker, regardless of your role. If you're like, I want to think about wellness, you can actually come and enjoy your wellness at Dream House. Or even if you want to take a breath of fresh air and get out of the office or get away from your home, you can come work out of this space. And so I think this space is needed. I think a space like this is needed in every city. I think the more we talk about mental health, the more we become clear around mental health challenges, the more we need to invest time, money, and resources into creating these like wellness type spaces.
Well, I will say it's very relaxing. We came, we're dealing with parking and all those things, and you come in and it's just got a very nice, relaxing feel to it, and I think I feel very relaxed here. I may just stay.
Yeah, I just tell people like most people who come in, they're saying the energy is different in here, and I tell people like if for 30 minutes or an hour you could just forget the noise outside, because New Orleans has a lot of noise. We're not like a New York City where just like sound waves buzzing at you every second, but there is a lot of noise outside in terms of energy. And so if for a moment you could just unplug and be, then do that at Dream House.
Did you find it challenging to find like non-alcoholic spirits and those kind of things when you first opened, or did you find that there was enough available that you could kind of create what you had hoped in mind?
Yeah, so the NA movement is booming. I would say that it's definitely has gained a lot of traction since 2020, and mostly like post-pandemic, when I think a lot of people were grappling with the fact that they may have drunk too much during the pandemic, including myself. And so I think that as I started to research, I looked at online retailers, and they just had tons of options available. I just think it's around like knowing that it exists. And so like for some people who come in, they're like, oh, I didn't know there was a such thing as a non-alcoholic spirit or a de-alcoholized wine,
right,
or beer. And I think some of the big brands obviously have started coming out or have come out with their own zero proof versions of the cocktails. But I think when I first opened, no, I found access like pretty easily. It's just like a little search here and there. Like I said, I ordered all of those drinks before we opened because I wanted to try them myself. I wanted to test them out. I wanted to see like what effects they would have on my body. I was new to things like kava was new to things like reishi mushroom, and so I wanted to try those out and see what effect they would have on me if they were truly de-stressing me or making me feel a sense of peace and calm before saying, okay, we're going to add this to the inventory.
Very cool. Are you seeing more and more options available?
It's ballooning. There's literally like a brand coming on market, I feel like, every day. My email inbox is a little ridiculous in terms of the amount of brands that reach out to say like, hey, can you carry our brand? I actually think that there's a lot of brands in the market right now, and I do get a lot of brands that reach out to me every day, saying like, oh, I created this in a blank. Can I send you a sample to try to add to your program? And so I don't think we are shy of brands being offered. I think a couple things happen. Access is important, as well as education. So a lot of people just don't know that there are zero proof gins and zero proof tequilas. A lot of people just don't know that that's a thing. And so once we start to educate people more around, hey, here are the options for you to monitor your relationship with alcohol. Like if you're gonna have one proof drink, the second drink could be a zero proof drink. And so then you're creating a sense of balance between the two. So I do think that as we continue to like expand education and awareness, we'll see an uptick in demand. And I would say this month has been quite fun because a lot of our guests who are coming in are practicing dry January. And so they're like, oh, thank God. Because I can still get like that margarita, or I can still get that whiskey sour, but I'm practicing dry January, so I'm taking a little break from the traditional alcohol.
What would you recommend that people who are, because back in the day we tried non-alcoholic beer and it was not good.
I agree.
And so then now, years later, there's some really great options out there. What would you recommend if I'm going to go to my local purveyor of where would I find these? If I'm not here in New Orleans and I'm not going to be able to come to this lovely space.
Yeah.
What would you recommend? How would you recommend people go about finding those NA spirits or wine or that they will love and to not maybe be afraid of what it used to taste like?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So two things. When I first started out, I just did a quick Google search of zero proof online retailers, and that's how I started ordering.
Right.
Of course, Amazon is Amazon, and so they now are growing their base of zero proof options. I would also say in the future, Dream House will have its own commerce website online that we've been asked quite a bit to get that up and running, as well as I've been asked by a lot of people to make my own version of the NA cocktail. And so that's something that I'm strongly considering. But I would say for starters, you can just like do a quick search of NA online retailers, and there are a slew of them out there that you can order from.
Now, if you wanted
like some of the brands, or they also have like online retailers like Better Rose, which has, oh gosh, like maybe hundreds of different options, and they're all categorized by wines, spirits, and then the spirits are broken down, as well as botanicals, which are sort of like a category of itself. I think advocacy is a huge component of growth. Like most grocery stores, like if you say like, hey, I want you to carry this local season, or I want you to carry this local honey, like they're entertaining. And so I would definitely encourage people to advocate to the retailers to carry those NA products. And something else I've seen happen, which I thought was very cool, there was a lady that came here and she bought a bottle of our NA whiskey, and she took it to an actual bar. And she asked the bartender, can you make my Manhattan with this NA whiskey? I'll still pay for the drink, but I'm doing dry January. And so I got word of that, and I was like, oh, I love that. And so I think part of advocacy is important, but also agency. Like if you're out in the middle of nowhere, like order that zero proof gin or order that zero proof whiskey and take it to the bar and see how the bartender reacts. And no, obviously you want to still pay for your cocktail, but I think there's something beautiful to say that, like, I still want to enjoy your space. I still want to patronage your business. And I have some boundaries that have put in place for myself. And so if a bar is truly an inclusive environment, then they'll oblige.
I was totally surprised. A couple of weeks ago, we were at, we played trivia, and one of our group could not, they were taking medication, and so they could not have alcohol. And the bar had, did they have any options
They just
besides
had like
soda?
and water, like it was.
And
nothing.
so the second time we went, this was over the course of several weeks. The second time we went, they brought their own NA beer. Now, that same bar is carrying that Athletic Brewing. So it's been kind of nice to see. I'm sure we're not the only ones who've asked, but if you do ask, they're listening.
They are listening, and I think it's important. I think it's important because for a very long time, people who cannot drink or people who are experiencing sobriety because of past reasons such as addiction, you still want those people to feel safe in your environment. And I had a lady came in here on Friday who was allergic to alcohol. Unfortunately, she had a bad experience on bourbon. She told the bartender that she was allergic to alcohol, and she shared with me that the bartender bought her a low alcohol drink, and she drank it and immediately flared up. And I was like, well, we also have more work that we need to do here in the city. I think Dream House is like the starting point of that, but it would be amazing if every bar and every restaurant had a dedicated zero proof spot on their menu. And I think that sends a signal that everybody is welcome in New Orleans, not just people who are coming here to, you know,
Have
do
fun.
what they do.
Well, definitely, since Mardi Gras is coming up,
Yes.
I do find that it's awesome that we do have more options like
Yes,
this.
yes,
So you
yes.
can be on the street and be able to drink an
Yeah.
NA beverage and not feel maybe awkward or left out. Like I have some friends who are not imbibing, and I feel like they don't come out as much anymore because they don't feel like comfortable in that space.
Yeah.
But I feel like someplace like this where anybody can come in, and again, it's a very adult vibe in here. It's not like you're going to the soda shop or something. You know what I mean? Like you
You
definitely
can come and play games.
play games, and you definitely
You have
feel like-
events. You
Yes,
have
we do.
really cool events.
Yeah, we have wellness events. We do things like game night. We have our burlesque show that we had last night, and so it is great to see people like showing up and still enjoying life, and not feel like isolated. I'm literally in the process of writing to the city because the parade route is 2 streets over, and so I want Dream House to be designated as like the sober space.
The
And then you
designated
walk-
driver spot.
Yes, and then you walk down the sober sanctuary, if you will, and you can walk right down to St. Charles and watch the parade right there. And
Right.
so,
It's a great idea.
yeah, and so I'm like excited about Mardi Gras. We are calling it Dream House Presents Sober Gras. You've heard it first here.
Yeah, I love it.
Sober Gras, and so we're gonna like really like do the thing. Like Dry January is doing well, but it's like, all right, Sober Gras. So like people who are going to the parades and things like that, you literally can come get your conscious cocktail here and walk down to St. Charles and watch the parade. And I think that is true for anyone. I mean, you know, Mardi Gras is a marathon. I remember last year,
Yes.
I was like, oh, child, I'm tired of drinking.
By the end of it, I'm like, I don't want any more.
I don't want any more alcohol. Yes, and so I think about things like that, like how do you sustain for those weeks of parading while also being kind to your body. Excited to see more people thinking about their relationship with alcohol, especially around Mardi Gras. And I know that we've done some work around like marketing and messaging that we want to send out to people